Okay, so I've got my bobbins all ready here, and now we're going to start the Intarsia knitting to create these 2 rows with the nose and the garter sole. So it's really easy. Now if you cut your yarn from the main ball and you've got a string hanging here, you can attach it to your bobbin. You can do a Russian join, or you can do the double knot join, or you could just fold it over. Just put your needle through, just leave your tail hanging, put your needle through, and drape your yarn over and start knitting. So we're starting on the rib stitch now. So it's 4 rows in the main color. So it's knit, purl, knit, not 4 rows, 4 stitches in the main color, purl. Okay, so those are my 4 stitches. Now I'm going to add the white. And the thing that you need to remember, and this is the secret to Intarsia, is to cross your yarn over. So I want to come from, I've got my tail here, I want to come from behind that bobbin that has the main color on it. I want to come from behind it and then bring my yarn forward while I'm starting to knit. So I just want to hold them 2 together right now. So I'm going to knit this one, just making sure that I've caught the yarn. So knit, and I can tighten it all up later. Give myself a bit of a tail to sew in later. Okay, so now it's knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Now we're adding our bobbin for the sole, and that's my larger one here. And so the same idea, I want to make sure that when I bring this, I want to bring this yarn so that I'm catching the white yarn before I knit. I want it to be wrapped around. And so I knit, and I want to make sure, yeah, I've got a long enough tail there. And now I'm knitting straight across here because this is my garter stitch sole. You'll see this better too when we go on to the wrong side, so that's where all the action is really happening. Okay, so now I'm at the end of my sole. Now I'm going to the second piece of white that I need, and this is going to be a purl stitch. So I need my yarn in front, but I want to make sure again that I've wrapped it around, that I've wrapped it around the red, so that they're hooked together when I do this purl. So I'm going to do purl, and there we are, and now knit, purl, knit, just to, I have that tail on my fingers, purl, and now, and you can just pull that, tight back over there. Now, okay, so knit, purl, and a knit. That's 8 stitches in white on this side. And now we're starting with our last bobbin for the last 4 stitches. And again, and this is that was a purl knit, yeah. So now we're starting with a purl. So again, we want to make sure that we just wrap our yarn around, come from behind and then forward. I'm just holding the yarns down the back because we're going to bring this forward, but so we got the white yarn under it, and we're going to do a purl. Whoops, I want to make sure I have enough tail. Okay, we're going to do a purl. This will be easier to see when we turn it over. Purl, knit, purl, knit. Okay, now we turn and we'll just pull that tighter. You can see it needs to be. So now we're just going to turn it over. It looks like a major mess, but it really isn't. We're going to organize our bobbins. This one goes over here. This is our tail. We want to bring this, sort of unwind these bobbins from each other. That's our middle. Just I mean, it's just kind of tangled here. I'm going to put this down. So here's my bobbin. Those are my tails, right? You can see the tails, the white tail there. Here's my bobbin for this side. And now I want this bobbin I've got it kind of messed up here, but it's really, it really won't be this bad in the future, you'll see. And now, yeah, see, I've just made a mess here. That's my other side bobbin. It looks worse than it is just because I had my bobbin so unwound. This one's a bad one. I've got it all in a mess here. That ends there. That's its tail. This comes here. And then this one, the big one for the sole, is here. So I've got them all lined up here. Now we're on the back side, and you'll be able to see much better how we cross the yarns. So now we're continuing our rib pattern. So this time we start with a purl and a knit. Whoop. A knit and a purl and a knit. Now we're going to purl the white, so we bring this yarn forward, so it's keep your yarn on this side, and now we're doing a purl. We don't need to, we've got this tail in here from when we joined it. That doesn't matter anymore. Okay, so we're making sure we go under it, under the red, to do our first purl. Now it doesn't matter anymore. So, and just pulling it tight, whatever, you can tighten that up. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Bring our yarn back to our working side here so we can see what we're doing. Now this is a purl as well. This is the back of our sole, right? So it starts with that purl stitch, the turning, the seam. So it's one purl. And now we knit across because we're continuing the garter stitch of the sole. So it's just all knit, knit, knit. Is a purl, it's the seam. Keep our yarn forward because we just want to see what we're doing. And this time we're doing a knit. So we're going to put our yarn back, but we've got it, behind the, underneath our red working yarn. So now we're at a knit and a purl. You can see how terrible my yarn is. And the other thing too is that if you're using straight needles, this will be easier because it's getting tangled up in my wire. Where am I here? Purl. No, that was a knit, purl, knit, purl. Knit, purl. When I pull my needle out, I'll be able to untangle it. Knit, purl. Keeping my yarn on this side. Picking up, that's the tail. I don't care about the tail anymore. So this is a knit, but I want to go under the whites and then take it to the back. So knit, and don't worry, you can tighten it up, right now. Knit, purl, knit, purl. Now I'm going to get this all. And now we're going to turn it around. We're just going to push these all behind us. You can untangle them right now if you want, or you can just wait until you turn it around again. You can see where you might want to tighten things up a bit here. Just pull some ends and whatever. My yarn is like so ragged because I've unwound it so many times, but yeah, you just want to tighten up whatever the ends. Okay, and so now here we are on the right side, continuing with our rib pattern. So I'm actually going to put my needle behind my work. It's not so annoying. So we're going to do knit, purl, whoops, knit, purl, knit, purl. Put my yarn to the back. I'm picking up the white to knit. I want to make sure I cross over the red. Knit. We come to the garter stitch sole. So I'm picking up my red and I want to make sure I cross over top of the white before I knit. So now I just knit straight across on this side. And now I'm at the white, and we started this as a purl because this one ended as a purl. So I'm picking up my yarn and I want to make sure I cross over top of the red, bring my yarn forward for the purl, purl. So knit, and now we're doing a purl. We pick up the yarn from the back. We want to make sure we cross it over the white, bring it forward for the purl, purl, knit, purl, knit. Now we turn it over, and this is where I might want to just kind of detangle it a little bit. It's no big deal. There's not that many rows of this to do anyway, and you won't be, you know, pausing and explaining like I am, so it'll actually go much faster for you. That's my tail, and see, you can see this isn't really all that tangled. It looks worse than it is. It's not that tangled. See, it looks like it is, but it really isn't. I mean, a few pieces of yarn are crossed over. So we'll do one more row together, and then I'm going to continue on for the length I need, which is about 4 1/4 inches before I do the so it's, you know, roughly half, 4 1/2 inches, roughly half of what this is. 4 1/2 inches, or this is 5 inches, this is 4 1/2 inches, and that's like about an inch. And I'm putting the size chart up. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna get my needles at the back here. We are going to purl, purl, knit, purl, knit. Bring our yarn to the front so we can see what we're doing. We want to purl this, but we want to cross over this red. So there's our purl, You can just tighten it up a bit now, and now just knit, purl, and now we're coming to the garter stitch. We're going to bring our yarn forward again, coming to the garter stitch sole, but it starts on the wrong side with one purl. So we're going to purl, we're crossing it over that white piece. And now just tighten things up a bit, whatever. And now just knit, knit, knit. You will feel so accomplished when you see your beautiful Intarsia seam as it builds up. Oh, and this is the last one, so that's a purl. And now we are at a knit, so I want to bring my yarn underneath that red, take it to the back so I can knit. And I guess I'll free this bobbin, take it to the back so I can knit. So knit, purl, leave my yarn to the front here, and this is a knit of the red, so I want to bring it under the white to the back so I can knit it. Knit, purl, knit, purl. And that's it, and you can see our ribs starting to form here. This is going to be, you can see I need to tighten up my stitches a bit here. That's no big deal. And so here we are off to the races. We've got our rib stitch showing up. We've got our beautiful join. Continue on until you reach about a 1/4 inch before you want the end, because we're going to do 3 more rows. We're going to do a joining row. We're gonna knit a bunch together. We're gonna purl a row, and then we're gonna knit a bunch together, and then we're gonna snap off, and then we're gonna sew up to here, and then we're gonna sew up here, and then we'll make the ears, and they're super easy. And we can make the eyes, or I made mine. I also crochet, but you can use buttons. You can sew right onto them. These are just little crocheted circles, and then I crocheted a chain stitch and sewed it on around, and this is just a little crocheted circle. It's so easy. I'll show you how to do it. And these are just knit ears. So easy. Okay, so continue on till whatever length you need, and we'll come back together to join it and sew it, and then we'll do the ears. Okay.